Dear students, my name is Dr. SHIKHA Sharma, lecturer in English at Government Girls College, Bara. Today, we will discuss the poem Light Shining Out of Darkness by William Cooper. Light shining out of darkness. Light. Light here means grace of God. Shining out means coming out of darkness. Darkness means sadness and sorrow. The light of God's grace is coming out from the darkness of sadness and sorrow. This poem is based on the wonders of God and His magnanimity. The poem Light Shining Out of Darkness is a hymn. What is hymn? Hymn means a religious poem. This is one of William Cowper's very successful religious poem. Cowper composed this poem under the influence of Newton, the evangelical curator of Olney. Like John Milton, Cooper had a great faith in God's mercy. Cooper's moral reflections are expressed in this poem. What is the poem about? The poem comprises 6 stanzas. The poem is based on the wonders of God and His magnanimity. The first 2 stanzas reveals God's wonderful actions. First 2 stanzas reveal God's wonderful actions, and the last 4 stanzas. In the last 4 stanzas, the poet ensures us to have faith in God because God has His own ways to show His grace and kindness. Now come to the poem. God moves in a mysterious way. His wonders to perform, He plants His footsteps in the sea and rides upon the storm. God moves in a mysterious way. Moves means acts, does His work. Mysterious, inexplicable means which cannot be explained. God moves in a mysterious way. God's acts are mysterious for us. Whatever He does it in an inexplicable manner. His deeds are unexplainable or incredible for mankind. His wonders to perform. To perform His wonders. We can read this poem like this. To perform is to do. To fulfill His wonders, God moves in a mysterious way. To perform His wonders. To fulfill His actions, God does in a miraculous manner. God does His works in a miraculous manner. He performs His acts in such a mysterious way which is not easy to understand for us. Whatever He does, He hides something behind that action which is beyond the knowledge and understanding of an ordinary man. He plants His footsteps in the sea and rides upon the storm. He plants, He puts, He establishes His footsteps in the sea. We can see the God standing and walking in the sea. He can stand and walk in the sea and rides upon the storm, and He can float with the rising waves of the sea. He can do things which are impossible for man to do or to perform. These are some impossible deeds which can be done only by God. Only God can do these impossible or extraordinary deeds. Now come to the literary device. In the first line, God moves in a mysterious way. We see alliteration, mm. The repetition of the same word mm is here. So here we find alliteration in the first line. Now come to the second line. His wonders to perform. Anastrophe. What is the literary device? Anastrophe is used here. What is anastrophe? Anastrophe means inversion of a word order. What is the actual version of this line? God moves in a mysterious way to perform His wonders. But here used anastrophe, the inversion of word order. His wonders to perform. But it should be like this: to perform His wonders. So here we use and instead of inversion of word order, आगे पीछे होना words का. Okay. Now come to the next stanza. Deep in unfathomable minds of never failing skill, he treasures up his bright designs and works his sovereign will. Deep in unfathomable minds means which cannot be measured. Unfathomable, which cannot be measured. Minds, a deep place in the earth. God can be seen working in the deepest place in the earth, the depth of which cannot be measured. Of never failing skill. God never fails in his doings. He does his actions with great confidence and certainty. His talent of doing something impossible never goes in vain. There is nothing which can cause God's act to fail in his plan. No one can fail him in his plans. He treasures up his bright design. Treasures up means conceals, hides. Bright, great designs plan. He conceals, he hides great plans which cannot be understood by man. God conceals something behind his great plan. Man can never understand his efforts, which are beyond the normal reach. Our human nature cannot comprehend the Lord because of his spiritual existence. He works his sovereign will. Sovereign means omnipotent. God is omnipotent. God works in his own peculiar way. He does whatever he desires. He carries out his will. He is the king of the universe. He reigns as a supreme ruler. No one can dare to question his will. He is the king, but not tyrant. He is merciful, and whatever he does it for our goodness, for the goodness of mankind. Ye fearful saints, fresh courage take. The clouds ye so must rate are big with mercy and shall break in blessings on your head. Ye fearful saints, fearful means who are scared of God. People who are scared of God. Fresh courage take. You should not be scared of God. The clouds of miseries and sorrows. Here the poet uses metaphor. The clouds of miseries and sorrows are so much dread, means are so much horrible, awful, and are bigger and are filled with mercy. So, and shall break, and one day these clouds will break in blessings on your head. Now I explain these lines. The poet appeals to the people, to men, to not to fear of God. Because he says that though the clouds of sorrows and miseries are horrible, though these clouds are very horrible, awful, fearful, but they are filled with God's mercy and kindness, and shall break. And one day, these clouds of mercy will shower the rain of God's benevolence and blessings on your head, on our head. In these lines, we come to the optimistic view of the poet. He says that though we suffer from the distress and discomfort of life, but these difficulties of life are not permanent but temporary. The clouds of sorrows and sadness will disappear soon in the light of God's benevolence. So we should have faith in God, we should trust Him. The anxieties of life will turn into blessings. God will shower His choicest blessing on mankind, and then all the doubts about God will be clear. The storm and hurdle will end in peace and happiness. These clouds firstly seem dark, bleak, and awful, But when the cloud brings rain, when it rains, it prove good. The clouds prove good for the harvest and the farmer. In the same manner, God may sometimes appear to be full of anger and threat, but in the end, He gives happiness to all. So we should have trust in God and wait for His benevolence, kindness, and mercy. Enough for the day. The rest part of the poem will be discussed tomorrow. Thank you.